Today I'm going to show the best way I found to run speaker wires from the front doors to the trunk of a 2022 or newer Hyundai Elantra N. This is helpful if you're wanting to bypass the factory wiring or wanting to have a fully active system with no passive crossovers. This will be the first of a series of videos I'll be putting out going over how to install each of the new items I've purchased for my Elantra N. I'm starting with the front speakers. The other videos will showcase a new 5-channel amplifier, mini DSP processor, tuning the DSP, and finally a new shallow Hertz subwoofer. Typically, I like to use new concept wiring, but for this install I chose to go with Install Link 14 gauge wiring. I chose Install Link because I wanted purple speaker wire to match my power and ground wires. Also, Install Link had the best price per foot. The other main item that I used for this project was T-taps from Ticonn. Speaker wire adapters are not made for the Elantra, so the T-taps made it easy to tap into the factory speaker wire harnesses. I will have a link to all the items and tools used for this install in the video description. I chose to go with 14 gauge wire based on the length of wire I needed from each speaker to the back of the trunk and the power that I'd be sending each speaker. Finally, I chose to only run speaker wire from the mid-range drivers and use the factory wires for the tweeters. I made this choice based on the fact that the tweeters require far less power than the mid-range drivers, and this limited the amount of wire that I had to run through the doors. If you want to run wire for both the tweeter and mid-range, you could look at using a 4-conductor wire. This would allow you to run one wire, but it would house 4 separate speaker leads. To begin the installation process, you'll need to remove each front door panel and lower door speaker. If you don't know how to remove these, I will have a link to the video I made showing how to remove the front doors and speakers. With the door panels off, I began running wire for the driver's side door. This will be the longer of the 2 runs of wire because I wanted to run both speaker wires down the passenger side, opposite the side I had my power wire ran on. Previously, I tapped into the lower mid-range's wire harness. I won't be needing that for this install, so I wrapped it in Tessa tape to reduce the possibility of it causing a rattle in the door. I installed 2 T-taps on the tweeter wire harness. Then I made a short wire harness that will go into the T-taps and connect to the tweeter. The factory green wire is positive and the orange wire is negative. I already had the harness made with red and black wire. If I didn't already have this made, I would have used the purple wire from Install Link. Both ends of the wire harness have male spade connectors. I snaked the wire harness in between the factory wires and then zip-tied it and the mid-range wire harness. I also wrapped the wire harness in Tessa tape. Both of these steps helped to keep wires from rattling. With the wire for the tweeter completed, we can move on to how to run the speaker wire from the door to the inside of the car. Below the door hinge, you will see a large rectangle wire harness. This needs to be unhooked. To do this, pull up on the plastic tab at the top of the wire harness. This will loosen the harness. Next, put your hand inside the speaker opening and push the bottom of the wire harness out of the door. Finally, close the door slightly, then pull the wire harness out. The wires will still be attached inside the door, but the wire harness will be loose. Next, you'll need to pop out the small circular rubber grommet below the wire harness you just removed. You should be able to pop the grommet out easily with your fingers. With the grommet removed, you need to gain access to the area behind the kick panel. To do this, pull up on the lower section of the door seal. Next, use a plastic trim tool to pop off the hood release. Again, use the plastic trim tool and pop up the lower kick plate. Finally, take out the kick panel. It needs to be popped towards the interior of the car and then back towards yourself. With the kick panel removed, you'll see a large wire bundle going into a large cutout covered in a foam circle. The area behind the foam circle is a cavity where you will be running your speaker wire through. I tried using my normal fish line, but I found it wasn't flexible enough to fish through the opening behind the kick panel and the hole left by the small circular rubber grommet, so I had to use a regular coat hanger. I took my speaker wire and attached it to the end of the coat hanger that was inside the car using electrical tape. Then I fished the wire through the body of the car. It doesn't look bad in the video, but I'm not going to lie, this was not easy. I had to fight with the coat hanger a bit to get the wire through the car. However, I did get it through, so you can too. With the wire through the body of the car, I made a cross cut in the small grommet and pushed the speaker wire through it. Make sure the back side of the grommet is pointing towards the car, not the door. Pull enough wire through the car so it will go into the door and hang just a bit out of the door. This will help give you a bit of slack if you have to remove the door speakers. Now cut into the bottom of the large wire harness's lower section that fits into the door. There is a thinner middle section at the bottom of the harness that is easier to cut into. Push the wire through the rubber and into the door. Pull out a bit more of the wire than you need. Wrap the amount of wire you need in the door in Tessa tape. Then pull the wire back until just the section with the Tessa tape is in the door. Reinstall the lower rubber section of the wire harness into the door. Do the same for the small rubber grommet. Make sure to tighten up the wire by pulling it back into the car. Leave a small amount of slack so the wire can bend easily when you open and close the door. Finally, plug in the large wire harness and push the plastic locking tab back down. You may need to close the door slightly to get the harness back into place. By running the wire this way, both rubber sections will have a tight hold on the speaker wire, which will create a seal. Install your speaker connectors on the wire. Install your new speakers. I use the purple color wire as my positive and the black wire as my negative. Now that we have the wire in the door, we need to run the wire over to the passenger side of the car. I used my wire fish line to go through the front of the center console. I attached the speaker wire to the fish line using electrical tape. Then I pulled the wire over to the passenger side. You will need access behind the kick panel again, not only to run the wire into the passenger side door, but to allow you to run the driver's side wire under the vehicle's carpet. Pull up on the lower section of the right door seal. Pop the kick plate up. Finally, pull out the kick panel. Pull back the carpet and run the wire under the carpet and down the passenger side of the car. Go ahead and run the wire back to the trunk with enough slack for your install needs. You don't need to tuck the wire yet. After the driver's side wire has been ran to the trunk, you'll need to perform the same steps on the passenger side door that we just did on the driver's side. Run the wire into the door and get it set up for your new speaker. With the wire ran into the door, run it back to the trunk the same as the previous wire. After cutting the wire off the wire roll, pull both wires back to the passenger side of the car. Run both wires under the T section of the factory wire loom. Next, tuck the wires under the B pillar. Pull up on the lower section of the rear door seal. Remove the screw holding down the rear kick plate, and then pop the kick plate up. Run the wire under the kick plate and reinstall the kick plate and door seal. Finally, run the wire into the trunk. Depending on your install, you may need to run your wire differently than I did. I ran the wire under the seat belt mount and under the right rear seat. You could also run the wires over to the left rear seat depending on where your amplifier will be located. After the wire has been installed, you'll need to reinstall the passenger side kick panel, kick plate, and door seal. Next, reinstall the door panels. For an extra touch, you can wrap the wire located in the door hinge in wire loom. This gives the wire install a finished look and helps protect the wire. Finally, pull back the driver's side carpet and hide the wire under the carpet. Once done, the installation process is complete. For speakers, I chose to go with Hertz Milli Pro two-way component set. I love Focal speakers, but when I looked into what gear I wanted to update my system with, I found I really liked the sound of the Milli Pros. I listened to Morale all the way up to their hybrid line, Audison, Prima, and Voce, and Hertz up to their Legendary series. After listening to everything, the Milli Pros really stood out to me. They sounded great in the doors with the included passive crossovers, but sounded even better when I switched to an active setup, and this is all before I got the new DSP hooked up. I also updated the factory tweeter pods. I used my Dremel and had to increase the size of the hole over what I had increased it for the previous Focal tweeters. I also flattened the tweeter opening as much as possible. Finally, I painted the tweeter pods in gloss black. I think they turned out great. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I'd love to hear what are your favorite speakers. What speakers are you running in your Elantra or Veloster in? Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe so you can be notified of more car audio videos.